What's up, YouTube? Ventman here. I've had a ton of people requesting this. Like, I've gotten recent emails asking me to do the updated Riku deck, and I've been wanting to do it. I just didn't have technically everything that I wanted for the deck, honestly. There's a few other Japanese cards I wish I could get a hold of. If you guys have them, let me know. I'm really looking for the Super Rare Stitch and Storm Rider from the Rejoin set, and then I'm also looking for the two separate cards of Cloud and Sephiroth. They're the level 5 from Endless Darkness. So if you guys have those, let myself or Brian know. That'd be fantastic. But let's go ahead and get into the deck profile. It's complete Riku aggro now. Like, there's no world race aspect to this deck at all anymore. Which personally anymore, it makes it more consistent. Let me see. That actually looks much better. Sorry guys, I'm still trying to get new angles for you guys where you can see things better. So it is the Riku. Like I said, there's no world race aspect to the deck in any way anymore at all. So a lot of magic cards have been dropped, a lot of worlds have been dropped, and I mean a lot of worlds, which you guys will see. So I'll go ahead and get into we'll go ahead and just go in order of level for friends. But I am playing, we'll go ahead and start off with the what Riku I'm running. I am running the Riku level 3 from Rejoin. He's 6 HP, 3 level, 6 on attack, and 0 magic. What he says is, at the beginning of the game, search your deck for a Weight of the Dawn and equip it to this card. And the Weight of the Dawn has 4 attack value boosts, so basically you start the game at a plus 10. Or you basically start the game at a 10 attack value, which is really good. Basically this deck is meant to outspeed the decks that could beat it, such as Riku, or mirror matches against Riku, control decks. Control decks with Valor Form Sora and Roxas. So basically I've got it built. I got a ton of input from Brian. He and I basically went in on this deck together. Like he's the one who hit me up with the Riku and the Weight of the Dawn, so thank you so much. So anytime you guys hear me talking about how much I appreciate having Brian as a teammate, I'm not joking. He's a huge help in what I've been doing getting back into this game, and Kingdom Hearts is what started our friendship and us being teammates. So we'll go ahead and start with Captain Pete. With this deck anymore, you really don't do a ton of searching, and if you know you're gonna search, if I knew I was gonna search, I would end up probably going ahead and just adding this to an attack, and then searching on my following turn. Sorry. I would end up adding him to an attack, and then if I knew I was going to do a ton of searching, one turn search is not a huge loss. I mean, in all honesty, it's not that big of a loss. So he's really good against decks that are meant to search a lot. And he's a huge help to take that 1 extra health down, since technically, other than with Weight of the Dawn or Soul Eater, or Valor Form, you're only doing 1 damage a turn. Then Chippendale, you can discard. I've talked about most of this deck in the previous, but I just want to go over it for people who may not have seen it. Chippendale says you can discard this card from your friend area to shuffle your discard back into your deck, and then this card gets removed from the game. So late game or mid game to late game, or any time, like if you've had to discard to get back to where you need to be, discard things you didn't want discarded. It's great to reuse. And then 1 copy of the King. The King is probably, he's fantastic. King's amazing. Again, if he was in, like I said in the last video, if he was in Yu-Gi-Oh, he'd be banned. But they made sure to put a limit on him in this game by saying you can only play 1 of him in a deck. So those are the level 0s I play. We'll get into the level 1s. I play the level 1 Donald for some magic. That's basically why he's in here. And he's got an okay boost on attack. 1 Sid, he's probably one of the better promos, in all honesty. You can discard him from your friend area, then as many cards from your hand as you'd like. to be able to draw as many cards as were discarded from your hand. So that's really good. I'm down to 1 Diz. Diz just comes in for the plus, just in case you know you're going to need to do a little bit extra that turn. So basically, in the best way, if he's on the turn, if you play him, the turn you used him, you're only going to be able to go up to a 2 before a challenge. The turn after, you're going to be able to go up by 3 more. But again, the plus from him onto the Riku only goes up for the 1 turn. Then I play 2 Moogle still. 2 Moogle lets me get into all my high levels really quick, real easy. He's easily searchable off of King, so he's just really good. And then I got 1 new card, and this is one Brian turned me on to. 1, he's a really good plus, and these are all my level 1s. I'm going into my level 2s. Play 1 Will Turner. When he comes into play, you search your deck for any equipment card and add it to your hand. So if your opponent's discarded your Way to the Dawn and you haven't been able to get to the Way to the Dawn, play the Will Turner. He's already a 5 support value, so it's really good. 2 King Triton. It's just really good. King Triton, he's basically the exact same thing as the one from Darkness Awakened. This one's just the easier version to get. He can come into play as a level 1, and then when he comes into play, he goes back up to a level 2. The come into play effect means he comes into play as a level 1. So basically, you're playing him from your hand as a level 1, and then he's going to go back up. Because basically how it works is, you can think of it kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Where things are ignition effects, where they have to kick off by their own means. So basically, the come into play effects semi-activate in hand for ones like this, where they level manipulate. Stuff like Yuffie does not activate in hand, but stuff like this where it level manipulates, it triggers in hand to where you get to play him down as the level 1, and then he'll go back up to the level 2, if that makes sense. And that's how he was ruled from every judge from Final Fantasy Flight games, is that he's the exact same thing as the one from Darkness Awakened. And I even had, before the game ended, I had actually been in contact with one of the judges. He actually just went by Roxas on the Pojo forums, or Pojo, sorry, I was talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! On the Fantasy Flight Games forums, and he said technically the come into play effect symbol shouldn't have even existed on this King Triton, because it didn't on the other one. So it was not meant to be printed on the Triton. So he comes in, so basically you can just ignore the come into play symbol. He just plays into the field as a level 1, and then he goes back up to a level 2. So he's fantastic for level manipulation. And along with that, he's a 6 support value, 2 magic, so he's really good. Then you play the 1 Yuffie. It's just hand control. You basically are gonna crap your opponent's hand. You're gonna force something out of their hand maybe they wanted. I mean, if you can randomly hit an ultimate weapon or an Oblivion out of their hand, you just kind of go. And then the final level 2 that I play is the Donald level 2. Again, I play one of each level 4, or one of each Donald in the game, like 1 through 4. So, I play 1 level 3 friend, which is a Donald Duck level 3. He's actually not a horrible support value, but he's really good on the magic. I do play 3 magic cards still, but all of them benefit what I do. Then we'll go ahead and get into the level 4s, which are starting ones are the Donald and Goofy. Donald, when he comes into play, searches your magic cards. Goofy, when he comes into play, searches your attack cards. And we're playing a good amount of attack cards, 3 magic, so in all honesty, if I changed the deck at all, I'd try to get another one of these Goofy, because I play more attack cards than I do magic, and he's a higher support value. But overall, the deck works really well with just that one Donald. I no longer play Cloud since I don't World Race at all, so I am just down to the Orin and the Sephiroth. Orin is fantastic because he gets +1 support value for every friend card in your discard pile. So that doesn't include magic friends, it's just friends. Gets +1 support value for every friend in your friend area, or friend in your discard pile. And then after a successful challenge, meaning you won the challenge, you get to discard any one of your opponent's friends that remained after the battle. So if they didn't use a friend that turn, you get to discard it because it is still in their friend area after the battle. It's also good for killing Sephiroths. So if you won that challenge and their Sephiroth was going back to their friend area, you can just pop that Sephiroth off. Because, and this is something people were confused on, the area where you challenge is not different than your friend area. You're basically, all you do is when you challenge, you move your player card up, and then you're moving your friend cards up. They're still considered in the friend area, but they are not moved up or played. Which is why cards like Olympia, there's an old card called Olympia. I think it was from Darkness Awakened. What it says is it's an attack card, 0 attack boost, 0 magic boost. Discard the most recently played card during the challenge that your opponent used. That does not kill Sephiroth because he was already played before that. What that does is it would get rid of current attack cards that your opponent has used, or since magic friend cards can be used during a challenge, if your opponent played a magic friend from their hand, you can play the Olympia and get rid of that since it's considered played. But friends moved up from their friend area are just moved up to challenge. They are still considered in the friend area. So I just want to make that clear to people, because that's something that a lot of people thought, is that Olympia was a Sephiroth killer, and it's not. They just are considered moved up. I did increase my magic friend count. I'm playing one Simba level 1, because I can play it off any of my basest level friends, almost. When he comes into play, both players have to discard a friend or magic friend card in play. This is really good for controlling things. I mean, in all honesty, it's fantastic. But again, one of the problems in the game is Pete, where Pete really doesn't hinder this deck so much. This deck is one of those that Riku decks were meant to basically counteract any deck that played Pete or Owl, because you didn't focus solely on playing only the magic or magic friends. These are just they kind of help you get to your answers, but you don't have to have them to play your answers. And then I play 2 Bambi level 3. They're just draw support, and they're a really good draw support. And then one of the other cards, I've got a couple of cards Brian really turned me on to for this deck. I play 1 copy of the event promo. What it does is when you play it, both players lose 1 HP. The reason that is as good as it is because optimally with this deck, you can do up to 4 damage in a single turn. I mean, that's amazing to do. In 1 turn with this Soul Eater, the regular 1 damage for the turn, and your Way to the Dawn, you can do 4 damage in a single turn by just winning 1 challenge. Now that's amazing, which is why Riku in Japan, Valor Form Sora, Master Form Sora was really good in Japan, but it wasn't as great as Valor Form. And then Roxas, those were basically the top 4 decks in Japan. Roxas started falling off even before the game died, just because Valor Form Sora was as good as it was. And it was... The only reason it wasn't able to sometimes keep up with Roxas was because of how many answers that that stupid deck had. And then one other card he turned me on to, which is the starting of our attack cards, is Fairy Harp. What it says is you can switch your current attack value with your opponent's. So, say your opponent just played an Ultima weapon and you've got the Fairy Harp, play the Fairy Harp down, your attack values are immediately switched. That doesn't switch during the end when you calculate. Because normally you calculate and then things happen and are discarded. Fairy Harp's effect goes off immediately when it is played, which is why Fairy Harp is such a good attack card for decks like Valor Form Sora and Riku. Then I've upped my count of Soul Eater since I'm going pure aggro. Everybody knows what Soul Eater does. If you don't, it can only be played by Riku. When you win a challenge, your opponent takes 1 additional health damage. They cannot stack on each other, so you cannot play 2 Soul Eater in 1 turn and take off an additional 2 health. If you played 2 Soul Eater, you're only doing the 1 extra damage. Then the 2 big attack cards of the game, Oblivion and Ultima. If my opponent if they didn't know what I was playing technically and played like a low level Heartless on me and I wanted to draw a couple cards, I could play the Ultima, but most of the time you're gonna sit on the Ultima weapon the entire game until you need it. Then we go into the 2 Way to the Dawn. I'm gonna go ahead and sit these up here next to the Riku so that they can stay out. What the Way to the Dawn states, let me move things down, sorry I didn't realize how, boop, and boop, there, now you guys should see that better. What Way to the Dawn states is that it can only be equipped to Riku, so it's a +4, so again, like I said, at the beginning of the game, since you search one out and equip it to him, you go to a 10. Now, also with Riku, while Way to the Dawn is equipped, you get to draw 1 extra card during your draw phase. So you're drawing up to 7 instead of 6 every turn. I apologize that I forgot that ability. Way to the Dawn states that when you win a challenge, you subtract an additional health from your opponent. So it's a constant Soul Eater on you. It is a constant Soul Eater. So anytime you win a challenge, your opponent takes 1 extra health damage. So that's why I say optimally with this Soul Eater and the event will take 1 health off them that turn. Soul Eater plus this will take an additional 2. Then just winning the challenge, you take 1 health off of them. So 1 health, 2 health, 3 health, plus that event takes a total of 4 health off in 1 turn. Which just with this and a Soul Eater, you've beaten the original promo Halloween Town Sora, which is amazing. I mean, you could do it turn 1 against that Halloween Town Sora very easily. Which is why they eventually printed that better Japanese version. Then it also has the back effect, and this was one I told you guys I wasn't going to tell you until I did the deck profile. Just because I wanted to show it off in the deck profile. The other effect of Way to the Dawn states that anytime your opponent would play a card other than a world card that would increase their HP, you can discard 1 card from your hand to nullify that effect and discard it. So if they play Curas, Curaga, any of the Tinkerbell, things like that, anything that they play that would increase their health other than a world card, because you automatically gain the +1 HP from playing a world card. You cannot, this doesn't let you discard a world card that they play. Anything other than a world card that would increase your opponent's health that they play, you can discard a card from your hand while Way to the Dawn is equipped and nullify that effect and send it to the discard pile. So that's why I wanted to show it to you guys, tell you guys about that effect in the deck profile, is because I wanted you guys to actually hear what it did while I was showing the deck off, because it's a really good effect. Now that doesn't make, it doesn't make the deck broken. This deck, like the top 3 decks in Japan, were not. It's just like any other card game. You've got, most of the time, you've got some top really good decks. And then you go into decks that are rogue decks that they can beat that deck, and they sometimes really will beat that deck. But most of the time you have your top 3 decks that are the best decks in that format. As soon as Rejoin came out, Riku tied with Valor Form and Roxas to be the best deck. And then it tied with Valor Form Sora, which Valor Form Sora was most of the time beating Roxas, and then when Endless Darkness came out and they got Setzer and Yen Sid for Roxas, Roxas kicked back up to being just as good, if not better, than Valor Form Sora. So they just needed a couple other cards to kick themselves back off, which is really good. But that's what I want to say. Nothing about any of the decks were broken. They were just very good and fun to play. Then we get into our Magic. I only play 3 Magic cards now. I play a Gravity, a Curaga, and a Cura. Cura gives me +2, Curaga gives me +3, and now Graviga gives me an option to discard 1 friend card in play of support value 7 or lower, which is really good. Gravity is a fantastic Magic card. If you play it at the right time, it can be detrimental to your success for the game. A lot of times I'll even hold Graviga until the challenge phase when my opponent has shoved up a few friend cards. And then I'll play Graviga from hand off of one of my friend's Magic bonuses to get rid of one of theirs just to win the challenge, which is really good. And then now I only play 3 Magic cards now. I play 1 Destiny Islands level 1 to search out any one of my 3 level 0s, since when it comes into play you get to search a level 0 and add it to your hand. I play 1 Timeless River. When it comes into play, both players discard the lowest level friend card in their friend area. This card can kill Pete. Which can be a problem. I mean, every now and then Pete or Owl can be a problem for this deck. I mean, I'm not saying they're not, but more often than not, they're not that huge of a problem. So this can take care of that, or if they're just sitting on a lone Sephiroth, you can kill that Sephiroth, which is amazing, just to kill a Sephiroth by playing a world card. Also, if anybody has the, I just remembered, if anybody has the super rare Japanese Piece of Memory level 1 Titus, again, let myself or Brian know, and we'd love to pick stuff up from you guys. Anything that I've listed in this video, please put it in the comments if you guys have it, and myself or Brian will try to pick it up from you. We love keeping this community going. I know the game's dead, but we'd love to keep the community going. Maybe here eventually Brian and I are going to start trying to get Skype tournaments going, which would be fantastic. And then I have the 1 level 1 Monstro. Neither player can have more than 3 friend cards in their friend area at a time. When this card comes into play, if either player had more than 3, both players have to choose and discard any number of friend cards from their friend area to get themselves down to 3. Basically what's going to happen in this deck is if you play Monstro, unless you have to world race for some reason, I mean, or play another world to gain a health or something, you're gonna most of the time sit on that Monstro for the entire game, and you're just gonna sit on probably a Sephiroth and attack cards in your hand. That's basically how that's gonna go. If you've got the Monstro, you're gonna play the Monstro. But one thing Brian said to me that somebody, and I did not know him, but he played in actual high-level tournaments that I didn't even get to go to, at like Gen Con and things like that, where they allowed Japanese cards. If you're gonna play more than 3 to 6 levels worth of worlds, just go ahead and turn your deck into a World Racer or Jack of all trades deck. If you are going to be purely aggro, you are basically only going to be wanting to play either 0, 1, 2, or 3 worlds. And the only ones you're going to want to play are ones that are detrimental to success. Like Destiny Islands searches out some huge level 0s. Timeless River can kill off Pete or kill off Owl, things like that, or even Sephiroth, again, if it's just their lowest level on their table, they have no other friends, which will happen a lot. Or Monstro controls both players' side of the field, but when it comes to aggro, you're controlling your side of the board the entire time anyway, so it doesn't matter. We'll go ahead and go into the Heartless. I still play 3 Stealth Sneak, 4 World Racer or Jack of all trades decks because this card's amazing. It's my favorite Heartless in the entire game. Brian will say his is either Cerberus or Cave of Wonders Guardian. Mine is always Stealth Sneak. Even though they errated him, he is still amazing of a card. And then I play 2 level 6s, and they are the best level 6s, which are Cerberus and Cave of Wonders Guardian. All damage during the turn has to go to Cave of Wonders Guardian if your opponent battles against this thing. It all has to be directed at Cave of Wonders Guardian. Now, that doesn't mean that they can go, I'll do 21 damage, 17 of it will kill the Cave of Wonders Guardian, then in 4 more damage will go to whatever Heartless, all 21 of that damage has to go to Cave of Wonders Guardian, and then their battle is basically over because they've calculated everything, and so they do not get to World Race for the turn that Cave of Wonders Guardian is put on their world. And then Cerberus is a cloud killer that forces your opponent to have to play 3 friend cards against it to challenge. So again, it's Cloud Killer though. So against a World Race deck that's gonna be playing Cloud, you're gonna be winning basically that World Race fight right there. So please let me know what you guys think of the new version of the deck. Brian was a huge help in putting this deck together. It is such a fun deck to play. I personally even like it better now than I did when it was a Jack of all trades deck, which is really hard for me to admit. But let me know what you guys think. It's fantastic. Love the deck. So if you guys like it, leave just hit that thumbs up button for me. Leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think of the deck, and please don't forget to subscribe if you guys want to see more Kingdom Hearts videos. Brian and I are going to start doing more collaborations here very shortly. So I will catch you guys later. You guys have a good one. Peace.